One ad is rewriting the rules and taking it to another level.
And the next level, and the next level.
The seventh level.
You just feel how natural it is. You feel how open you become to your prospects, and in response, they usually become more open to you.
Founded by Jeremy Miner, Seventh Level is the only friction-free sales system guaranteed to raise revenue.
In my life, it's been revolutionary.
And his followers are feeling the difference.
His training has transformed everything.
It is precise, and it really draws out emotions.
People around the world are starting to catch on.
We're going to tie in the new model of selling to your product or service that you sell.
These tools can work for anyone in any industry at any time.
And it's time to get on board before the ship sets sail. It's Seventh Level with Jeremy Miner.
All right, Jeremy Miner, Merry Christmas. I hope everybody had a Merry Christmas and you're looking forward to next year, to 2024, and actually achieving what you really want as far as a sales career, or if you're a business owner or sales leader, really expanding and scaling your business if that's what you do. Now, every Wednesday, we have a live where we interview a client, typically from a completely different industry every week. And we interview them and we break down their sales process, and we let you ask questions to me and that client. Now, today we are going to interview a gentleman that's been a client here for about a year. We'll ask him some questions, and we're going to focus on some things that we've taught him with cold calling that has really expanded his conversions. We're talking like he's doing 4 times the closing percentages. I think he was at around 10 to 15% closing percentage, maybe closer to 10. Now he's up around the 50% closing percentage. In his industry, that is remarkable. And he's still learning. He doesn't know everything yet. He's probably, like he would say, probably has about 20 to 25% of it down. Now, if you are brand new and you just started following me, because we're going live on StreamYard, so we're going live here in the Facebook group, Sales Revolution, 102,000 plus of you in there, 102,000 of you. That thing has grown rapidly. Going live here on YouTube, almost 100,000 of you follow me around on there, starting to expand that. LinkedIn, here we're going live. The Facebook business page, I think 165,000 of you plus on that. Only going live on those platforms today, not IG or TikTok, where we have, geez, almost 1 million followers on those bad boys. All right. If you're on the live right now, here's what I'm going to have you do. Go down to the bottom of your phone, because I know you're watching me on your phone, and I want you to press #live. So if you're on the live right now, post #live. And if you're on the replay, I'm going to have you post #replay. So go to your phone right now. I'm watching you guys right now, right here. And if you're on the live right now, post #live. And if you're on the replay, post #replay. I better see tons of #lives and tons of #replays on here. This gentleman might not come out and share with you. Now, I also want you to smash the heart button, and I want you to smash the like button. So smash the heart button, smash the like button. We're going to have you do that, because when you do that, it lets more people know that we're live here on the channel. You're on the social media, your channel, and they're able to see this interview, and it's able to help them sell more of their products and services and help more of their prospects get where they really want to be. All right. Now, as well, if you just started following us, my name's obviously Jeremy Miner here in the pink shirt, the salmon shirt. So I'm the founder of Seventh Level. If you don't know who we are a sales training organization that trains salespeople exactly like you. So we train sales professionals like you, sales executives like you, sales leadership, management like you, coaches like you, consultants like you, professional services like you, business owners, entrepreneurs. And what you're going to learn starting today is we train you specific questions to ask along with the right tone. That's really, really important to you, that cause your prospects to let their guard down, where they trust you and actually emotionally open up, because that is where the sale is won or lost, not with a cheesy closing question at the end. They buy regardless. They make their decision regardless of a closing or an option close or a just give it a try close. All right. And we'll talk a little bit about that today. Now, like I said, post hashtag live if you're on the live and hashtag replay if you're on the replay. We also call that NEPQ, that stands for Neuro Emotional Persuasion Questions, like I mentioned, along with the right tonality. Techniques that work with human behavior rather than work against it. Are you 100% sure what you've been trained is actually causing your prospects to want to open up and emotionally tell you what's really going on? Or is actually triggering sales resistance where when you ask questions, they give you vague, generalized surface level answers? So we're going to show you the difference starting today on here. All right, let's go ahead and bring up this gentleman. I know none of you care about me. Selfishly, you only care about yourself. Now, when I interview Sam here, I want you to ask him questions. So post questions in the chat, and me and him will probably bring out the top 6, 7, 8 questions here in the next 30 to 40 minutes, and we'll actually answer them for you. All right, Sam, welcome to this live.
What's going on? Thanks.
Congratulations. Now, because we interview a new client every single week times the last 3.5 years since we started. So we're talking about 180, 190 clients. And it's hard to even get interviewed on here. You have to hit a certain type of level, of skill level, and what your conversion rates are and income and all that stuff before you even can be on this live. So well done. Did you think a year ago that a year later you might be interviewed on here?
No, I don't think so.
I think you did either. I don't think even 6 months ago you thought you would. So congratulations. Now, walk us through real quick. Where are you based out of?
Philadelphia.
Okay, perfect. And what industry are you in? What do you actually sell?
Merchant services and point of sale systems.
Okay, so merchant services, point of sale system to companies. Now you're primarily selling to more like small type of companies, right? Like maybe a retail store or something like that. You're not really selling enterprise level, right?
Right. Yeah. Local businesses, local restaurants, local retail business.
Local businesses, restaurants, point of sale. Now, specifically, what problems do you solve? Give us like maybe the top 2 or 3 problems that your solution solves for these business owners.
Sure. So a generic one is overpaying for processing fees.
Yeah. Okay.
Another one is restaurants being like understaffed.
Okay.
So we can help them, run more efficiently.
It's kind of a big problem now since COVID, right? A lot of these restaurants, just people don't want to work there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good. What else?
Another one is just sales that have decreased. So if they're seeing a drop in sales, we help them increase sales with things like online ordering, reservation bookings.
Putting in different systems that some of these business owners just don't know how to do or just don't even know exist. All right, perfect. Now, from what I understand, you've only been in sales for a year, right?
So I was this is my going into my 3rd year. So
this is your 3rd year, but when you started in merchant services, you were fresh out of college, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And I was in for a year before NEPQ. So.
Okay, perfect. So you had a year of sales experience in this industry before you got in any of our training, even the basic stuff. What type of results did you get from the way you used to sell?
Extremely average. So I was very, very average rep. I was able to make sales, but pretty much just through like grinding every single day.
Yeah. And you're pretty much going door to door to these companies, right? Knocking on the door, or just walking in, right? Because they're retail established or restaurants. So you're walking in, you're having to do a lot of cold calling. And what did you used to give us an example what you used to say before NEPQ? I have to know. Sometimes it's hard to go back to the old way, but I have to know what you're saying.
Well, typically the first thing I would say is wondering. I was just walk in and would say like, "Hey, I was wondering if the owner or manager happened to be available."
Yeah, and they would say what?
Well, they would usually say, "Yeah, I'll go grab them." Sometimes it would be the owner and manager that I'm talking to, and they would basically run away. So,
or they might ask you like, "He is or she is, but do they have an appointment with you?"
Yeah, or like what? Like they might be here, but like what's going on? Or like,
right. So you got stopped dead in your tracks. Now, so you weren't doing horrible, but you're just kind of right in the middle. just kind of like average rep for your company, for industry. A year ago, you jumped in, I think, to our NEPQ Pro or NEPQ 3.0 training portal plus the group training. And then eventually you got into Advanced Inner Circle with me. What caused you to be like, hey, a year ago, like, I'm doing okay, but I really want to, I want to get up here. What, like, because not everybody wants to sell more, which doesn't make sense since you're working the same amount of hours. But what caused you to be like, I need to learn, I need more advanced, I need an advanced sales ability than what I currently have? What caused like that drive to find something?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I really wanted to do better and be like a top performer, and I felt like I was basically just winging every sales call, trying to figure out what works and what didn't work on my own.
Yeah.
And so like I wanted to find somebody who had success and like could teach me.
Sure.
Rather than just
how did you find 7th Level? How did you find us a year ago? I have to know.
So I think I saw one of your ads, either on LinkedIn or Instagram.
We have about 3,000 ads running on every platform about the same time. So it's hard not to see an ad. You saw the ad, and what caused you to be like, hey, what they're saying makes sense. Maybe I should look into this.
Yeah, I think it was basically you talking about how you were a commission only rep and able to earn a lot of money while basically communicating with prospects in a way that didn't create pressure and allowed them to like actually just open up about the problem.
Yeah, 100%. All right. So you get into 3.0, and then I want all of you here watching us to start asking us questions. Just ask us the biggest question on your mind. Okay. Some of you got a few questions here. Keep posting them in there, and then me and Sam are going to pick like the top 6 or 7 ones. Be very specific with the question you're asking. So if you're saying, how do I do this? Let us know what industry you're in. So if you do outbound leads, inbound leads, cold call, because if I don't know those things, I'm just throwing mud against the wall, answering something I don't understand the context behind. So you got into 3.0. Tell us what started to shift for you, like a couple months in. What started to change with you and your prospects? What did you notice first off?
Well, I noticed that it was just the whole approach of just like speaking to somebody with like the proper tonality seemed to have a huge impact because I was always like kind of taught to sell with like enthusiasm.
Be really excited.
Yeah. But I noticed that like obviously caused people to like close down and just kind of tell me to like, get out, or I'm not interested.
Fight or flight in the brain. Okay. So what did you started? Okay. So the prospects started to be more open to you is what you initially started to see. What else did you started to see? Like that's what you started to see in the first couple months. And that's pretty normal from our clients in your industry or really any industry. What did you see maybe a couple months later that you started noticing was shifting?
I think just being able to like, for me, just like being able to clearly help them see a gap of like, problems that are like they're experiencing in their business. And then hearing them out on like what, their ideal solution would be to that problem and like how it would impact them emotionally to solve that problem. Those were like skills that I just had no idea how to do before.
Yeah. Okay, good. And then when did you get into our Advanced Inner Circle program, which is more industry specific? When did you, and why did you get into that? Because you're already doing much better with 3.0. What caused you to be like, I need a new level, like I need more?
Yeah. I was in 3.0 in November of 2022. So I did about a month of that.
Okay. So you got into it pretty quick then.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, what type of results have you gotten? I know right before I got on here, you'd mentioned you were before NEPQ because you're in our more advanced stuff. You're not like in our basic black book of questions or anything that's basic like that. But you said you were converting around 10 to 15%?
Correct. Yeah.
So did that mean like when you walked in, every booked appointment after the initial cold call like showed up and you closed them? Or does that mean any type of like when you walked in, 10% of those cold calls turned into like a sale?
Yeah, I would say probably 5 to 10% of the cold calls turned into a sale. But once I was actually engaged in the sales process and like presented a proposal before 7th level, it was
so
like
5% of the businesses you walked in the door would actually would set an appointment with you? What are you at now just getting the prospect to set an appointment for you from a cold call? What percentage are you converting now from 5%?
Roughly like 25%. I mean, I think a lot of times the owner isn't there, so it's like a lot of follow-up as well.
All right, so you're okay, about 5x on that. That's not bad. 25% is not bad. Pretty good for your industry. We got to get you up to about 35-40%, be even better. But now, what are your closing percentages of when they show up after that initial cold call? They show up to the booked appointment. You said you're 10 to 15%. What are you at now?
50%, maybe a little more.
Okay, 50 to 55%. Is that a little bit of a difference in your paycheck sometimes?
Just a little. 10
to 15% to 50 to 55. Not bad. Now, I have to know, what did your boss have to say about it?
I think they're pretty happy with like the results over the course of this past year. So
I would hope so. 10 to 15%, 50 to 55%, a whole different type of revenue they're generating off of what you're doing. So congratulations to them. Okay, now I'm going to have you give some examples of some cold call openers that we've taught you and the tonality, and we're going to rehearse those, and then a few other questions we've taught you. Let's ask a few questions here that people are asking, and then we're going to go into that. Did Sam start with creating warm leads from Samuel Cruz on YouTube? You didn't. You just cold calling, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So Samuel on YouTube. So he's basically walking into like small businesses, like restaurants, retail stores, like shopping, different shopping malls, things like that, with point of sale. He's not talking to like Fortune 100 companies or anything. So he's walking in cold calling that way in person. Okay. Let's see. I'm in 3.0 now. What is the difference? What is different about what happens in Inner Circle? Well, Sam, we'll let you answer that question because you went from 3.0 to Inner Circle. What was different for you?
I think for me, the biggest difference was just writing a script and having some help writing that script out.
Yeah.
Also doing like the call review breakdowns was really, really helpful.
Yeah, that's a game changer from our clients. So the biggest difference, to answer your question, so 3.0 is a virtual training portal. That's like the 45-hour virtual training course. And in 3.0, you have group training. So we have I want to say close to 40 group training calls a week from all of our sales trainers around the world for different time zones. Whereas one might be on tonality, the other might be on objection handling, the other might be on cold calling. They're all different categories. Now in Inner Circle, those are much smaller groups. We only let 50 people a month join Inner Circle, and you have to be in 3.0 or 2.0 before you can even get into Inner Circle. Very small groups. Like I said, only 50 people a month can even get into Inner Circle. Sometimes there's a waiting list of a month or two, depends on what time of the year that is. And that is more industry specific. And I am the one that does the majority of that training myself in those small groups. So we have thousands of industry specific scripts, pretty much from every industry out there. And Inner Circle members are able to take those scripts, copy and paste it over to theirs. And then we have script role-playing sessions where they'll rehearse that with other clients. We'll break down what they did well, what they can improve on. I do that myself, show them what they're doing well, what they can improve on. And then we make adjustments to their scripts. Plus, we also have them record some of their sales calls. And I review those with small groups, tell them what they're doing well, because that's just as important in what they need to change. And that's why you see a lot of people like Sam 4 to 5x their closing percentages. So that would be the biggest difference is Inner Circle is more industry specific, whereas 3.0, it's all the virtual training portal plus the group training calls with our sales trainers. Okay, now here's another question. Dave, what's your new warm-up status framing? Dave, I don't know what you mean by that question. You mean like, what's your new warm-up? Like, what do you mean? Like what he's saying when he does a cold call? Let's talk about that, Sam. Because a lot of these people on here are cold calling. So okay, so I think we already kind of know what you said before. And then we taught you more of what's called a problem statement that triggers curiosity. You want to give us an example of that? Kind of role play it as best as you can. I don't want to put you on the spot, but how do you start that conversation?
In a cold call, typically when I walk in, I mostly sell to restaurants. So when I walk in, it'll be like a server or a host or somebody will be like, "Hey, how can we help you?"
Yeah. You say what?
And I'll say, "Well, not sure you could yet, but I stopped by to see who would be responsible for looking at like any hidden gaps in your profit margins, that could be causing you to lose money. I guess like who would be responsible for managing that?
And what do they typically say to that?
They're usually like, oh, that's the GM, or oh, that's the owner.
And you say?
And well, then I'll typically transition. Usually they'll say like, they'll usually ask me like,
yeah,
what do you mean by that, more after that, and then I'll transition.
Good, because that's what we want. We want to trigger curiosity. The only thing I would change there that I would show you is, instead of saying, I'm not quite sure you could yet, that's okay. I would just, to that type of question, be like, well, I'm not quite sure who I should be talking to, but I stopped by to see, I guess, in the restaurant, who would be the one responsible for like looking in like any hidden gaps, maybe issues like in the way XYZ. What did you say was the middle part there? Any hidden gaps in your what?
Yeah, profit margins.
Any hidden gaps like within your profit margins that could be causing you to what?
Lose money.
It could be causing the restaurant to lose money. Who should I be talking to about that? With the confused, curious tone, right? Why would we use a confused, like curious tone typically in that type of context on a cold call? What does that do?
It draws people in.
Yeah. Did you notice when you act a little bit confused, like you're not quite sure who you should be talking to responsible, how they typically come to your rescue a little bit more and let their guard down?
Yeah.
Rather than you being so professional, like a scripted robot, they're like, oh, salesperson trying to sell me something, fight or flight mode. Okay. Yeah. So then when they bring over the GM or lead you over to that, what's the next words out of your mouth?
Well, typically they'll walk up and say, hey, like what's going on? How can we help you? And I'll say, yeah, well, not sure if you could yet, but I kind of use the problem statement. So I'll say, yeah, you know how restaurants sometimes struggle to maintain their profitability? And they'll be like, yeah. Well, what we do is help restaurants increase sales with new software and cut costs on things like managing labor or credit card fees so that you can be more profitable. I guess, would you be like opposed to a brief conversation around that?
Would you be opposed to having a brief conversation around that before I have to leave? I would even say that just to cause them to feel like you're not going to take a lot of their time because you're busy, right? They're a GM. They've got lots of, would you be opposed to having a brief conversation around that before I have to leave or before my next appointment? Something like that. I'd even add that. That's good. Now, how does the GM typically react to that?
I mean, typically they're curious to learn more. So they're like, yeah, no, like I'm not opposed, or they'll just be like, sure, like what's going on?
Yeah. Now, why would we train you to say, would you be opposed to having a brief conversation? Why not say, would you be open? Why would we train you to say, would you be opposed?
Because I think, like you said, people are just kind of trained to say no. Yeah. Especially if they think they're talking to a sales rep. So
we're working with human behavior. It is very hard for a prospect to say, yes, I'd be opposed to that. They're like, no, I'm not opposed. What do you have? I could say, would it be a crazy idea for us to have a conversation around that before I have to leave? Would it be unrealistic for us to have a conversation around that before I have to leave? Would it be completely unrealistic? No, it's not completely unrealistic. No, I'm not opposed. See, a lot of you have been trained, you got to get 17 yeses before they're going to agree to do anything. There's no actually scientific data on that, just so everybody knows. It actually comes from a sales training book in the 40s that most sales trainers have copy and pasted from a study that sales training company did in the 40s, which was very, very limited. There's a whole lot more to that. No actually scientific evidence that is the case. A lot of times getting the prospect to say no actually leads to the yes in this context. Would it be completely unrealistic for us to have a conversation around this? No, I mean, it's not unrealistic. See, same thing. Would you be opposed? Would it be completely unrealistic? Would it be a crazy idea? See, those type of things trigger them like, no, it's not crazy. Like, what do you have? See, I'm triggering that reaction. Okay. All right, good. Let's go through. Okay. So let's give them a few more questions. So when you get in, we don't really ask a lot of connection questions when we're cold calling. We go straight from the problem statement, maybe a personalized intro about how what you do helps other people solve their problems. And then you immediately go into your first situation questions. And situation questions, NEPQ situation questions allow you and the prospect to understand what their real situation is, because most never really know what their real situation is when you first start talking to them. So there's several situation questions you have to ask for industry, but maybe give us one example of a situation question you ask, and how does the prospect respond to it?
Yeah. So like you said, after I would transition from like a problem statement or something, I'd say, well, I should probably ask like what point of sale system are you using now?
Yeah, and what point of sale system do you guys use now, though? And what type of tone am I typically going to ask most of my situation questions in?
Pretty like neutral, but a little skeptical maybe, but
Curious. It just depends, right? Now, they might say, oh, we use this one, right? And that might be, give me an example of what a prospect might say there.
Clover.
Did you say Clover?
Yeah, that's the name of a popular point of sale.
Oh, you use Clover. Okay, yeah, they're fairly decent. How long have you been with them? Now, why would I say, oh, use Clover? Yeah, they're fairly decent. How long have you been with them? Why would I say it in that tone?
It's making them think like deeper about what you're asking and lowering their guard a little. So
yes, and also I'm seeding doubt by my tone. Yeah, okay, use Clover. Yeah, they're fairly decent. What caused you to go with them? They're fairly decent. See, I don't say like, oh, they're awesome or oh, they suck. Because if I say, oh, they suck, they're just going to dig in like, no, they're really good, right? Because they're used to salespeople bad-mouthing competitors. But I'm not going to say, oh, they're really awesome. I'm going to be more in the middle. But my tone, by me saying, oh, you're with Clover? Yeah, they're fairly decent. How long have you been with them? Fairly decent. Triggers, it seeds doubt that I might know something they might not know, but I don't want to ruin it for them, so I'm keeping that back. That triggers more curiosity, and it starts to seed doubt that maybe what they have might not be as good as they thought. So I'm automatically starting to seed a little bit of doubt, but I don't trigger any sales resistance by bad-mouthing that company. Completely different, okay? All right, good. All right, now give us an example of a problem. There's more situation questions you have to ask for your industry, but what is a good problem awareness question we've taught you how to ask in Inner Circle to get them to really open up and tell you what the real problems are?
Yeah, so you've been using Clover for like 5 years now, I guess. Do you like how things have been going with it?
Yeah, that's a good one. So you get that verbal pause there. So you've been with Clover the past 5 years. Are you 100% satisfied with the results you've been getting? Are you 100% satisfied with the way it's been going? Now, why would I say 100% satisfied rather than are you satisfied? I don't think you've learned this one yet. I think you graduated from Inner Circle to.
Yeah, I haven't. That's a good one.
Learn that. See, there you go. Learn something new every day. Why would we want to say, are you 100% satisfied with the way things are going?
Yeah, because no one's ever 100%.
Yes.
Satisfied.
Let's say, well, I mean, they do a pretty good job, but you know, hold on. Well, we're not 100%. I mean, they're not 100%. Yeah. And see, now I'm starting to, you always say 100% satisfied in that thing because no one is ever 100% likes what they have. You buy a brand new Ferrari for 500 grand today, 6 months from now, guarantee there's going to be something you don't like about it. There just will always be. So wait, you start dating somebody right now, you're madly in love with them. 6 months from now, guess what? You're going to find something you don't like about them, and they will too, right? That's just human behavior 101. So we always want to use, are you 100? Now, what did my tone sound like? Are you 100% satisfied with the way things have been going? Why would I slow that down? Why would I verbal pause? Why not say that fast?
So people actually give you a real thoughtful answer and not just like a knee-jerk response.
A lot of you ask your questions so fast because you don't understand verbal cues yet. You don't understand verbal pausing. You don't understand the power of verbal pacing because you've never been trained it. You ask the questions so fast, and that's the number one reason your prospects give you vague, generalized, surface level answers because they have no time to internalize what you're asking. And so they just spit out a reaction to you. When you slow it down in your verbal pause and focus on certain words in the question, you amplify those words, you make them sound like a bigger deal. It causes their brain, they have no choice. Their brain thinks internally very deep about what you're asking, which gives more open answers and them to emotionally open up more. If you want to learn that, DM me. We can train you that if that's what you want. It's definitely a game changer once you acquire the skill. If you don't, you get crushed by people like Sam who know how to do it now. Okay, let's see. Let's answer some other questions here. I think you guys have some valuable questions. Varen, I'm a software guy. I want to transition into tech sales. I'm kind of on the nerdy side. Where do I start? Well, Varen, I would just start in the training. Just message me directly. We can give you some pointers. We have 36 different sales training programs, not one. So if we know a little bit more information about what skills you're trying to acquire or stuff that you're deficient in right now, we can point you in the right direction. Okay. Somebody on Facebook, what was your biggest aha in 3.0 when you built your script from what you're using before? I don't think you built your script in 3.0, or did you did that more in Inner Circle, didn't you?
Yeah, I didn't in 3.0 at all, really. I was using like the black book of questions to just throw something together, but it was not good.
Yeah, those are generic, right? Because we train every industry. So if you're using generic questions and you don't know how to tweak them for your industry, which you're not going to know that from a book, because we don't train advanced tonality. We don't train tonality. How can you train tonality and body language in a book, right? They're just words. Losing a lot of sales. Now, here's a good question from somebody on LinkedIn. I can't see who it is. Jeremy, what has influenced you to take note in varying tonality and pace in conversations as something important to the sales process? Well, any sales book you will ever read says what? 93% of the sale. You've read this in any sales book. It's in every sales training book behind you. 93% of the sales determined by your nonverbal communication. What is your nonverbal communication? How you use your tone and your body language. 7% are the words you use. So 93% of you making the deal is based on your tonality, because that's how the prospect interprets the intention behind the questions you're asking, and your body language, even if they can't see you, because your body language affects your what? Your tone. Like if I want to have a skeptical tone, how can I have a skeptical tone if I don't move my face? Everybody try to have a skeptical tone without moving your face. You can't. When you watch a movie, who's your favorite Sam, let me ask you, who's your favorite actor or actress?
Bradley Cooper, because I'm
okay. So Bradley Cooper, right?
Yeah.
When you watch him, everything he says is what? 100% scripted, right?
Yeah.
Does it sound scripted to you?
No, it doesn't.
You know why? Because he has learned advanced tonality. He's learned how to use different facial expressions that cause his tone to change on demand, which triggers different emotional drivers in the audience's brain that keeps you engaged in the movie where you don't turn it off. And he's learned advanced body language. One of the first things that you learn. So to answer that question on LinkedIn, after about my second year in sales, okay, I was like, how do I get to the next level? Every book tells me that I have to learn this nonverbal communication with my tonality and body language, but nobody trains how to do it. What training course have you gone through that teaches you advanced tonality and advanced body language?
Yeah,
nothing.
I haven't. That was like the one of the biggest things I learned from NEPQ, because my tonality is very plain and almost too detached sometimes,
like monotone.
Yeah, it probably sounds that way right now, but yeah, I'm always trying to like learn, and that was like a
fluctuate your tone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So what I did after my second year is I hired acting instructors to teach me body language and advanced tonality and advanced facial expressions. Your facial expressions are the remote control to how your tone sounds. Your facial expressions are the remote control to your voice. If you don't understand that, you are losing tons of deals you could be making. I didn't hire, a Betty down the street for $20 an hour who went to acting school 30 years ago. I hired instructors that were training Hollywood stars making millions of dollars a year. I took that seriously. I spent tens of thousands of dollars mastering that skill over about a 2-year period. And a lot of that is trained in our NEPQ courses. That's why we have 18,000 plus testimonials. It's not just the questions, it's how you're asking the questions that's going to determine whether the prospect stays surface level and gives you vague surface level answers, and then I want to think it over objections at the end, or if they emotionally open up or not. It's a difference between you making what you are now compared to being up here. Okay. All right. Now, give us an example. We're going to go through some other questions here. Give us an example maybe of a solution awareness question, because there's several you ask for your industry, and why it works so well that we've taught you to ask.
Sure. The first one I always ask is, especially from cold calls, it's like, so before I like randomly barge through your front door, I guess, have you been out there looking for ways to increase your profitability, or like looking for ways to integrate your online orders, or like what have you been doing about that?
Perfect. So the way, and I'm assuming you use more of a playful tone. So hey, before I just barged in your door today, now
Right.
why would I want to use a playful tone when I say that?
Yeah, just like lightens the mood a little, and it's just like
Yeah,
lowers their
get them to
guards.
let their guard down. Now, hey, before I just barged my way through the door and started pushing down your waiters to get to you, were you out there looking for like, ways to like increase your profit margins and cut expenses on your processing, or what were you actually doing? Okay. Now, some are going to say, yeah, I've been looking at X and Y and Z. Some are going to say, no, I haven't done anything at all. Some are going to say, yeah, we've looked into it. What do you say if they say, no, we really haven't done anything?
I'll say like, well, what's held you back from looking in the
Oh,
past?
what held you back from trying to cut those expenses though? And I ask that in a kind of a confused, curious tone. Remember, my tone is how the prospect interprets the intention behind the question. So if the prospect feels like I'm not understanding why they wouldn't have done anything, or I'm curious, that causes them to what? Expand on why they haven't done anything, right? So if I'm probing, so if a prospect says, give me like an emotional word, one of your recent prospects said to you, like in a sentence. What do they say?
Stressed.
We say like, I feel stressed, or how did it come up?
Oh, yeah, it's like using the system is stressing us out a little bit because of the lack of customer support.
Hold on. How do you mean it's stressing you out? See, I'm using a confused, concerned tone. Oh, I'm not understanding. How do you mean by stress? See, I'm confused. Now, what that does in the prospect's instinctual part of their brain, that's called their survival brain. When you act confused, when you probe or ask a clarifying question in a confused tone, when they give you an emotional word like stressed, annoyed, frustrated, pressure, tension, concerned, hold on, worried? Yeah. Now, what that does, when you say that in that type of confused tone, what happens in their brain instantly is it's triggered. And it says, they're not thinking through this, but it says, oh, he didn't understand what I meant by worried. I need to clarify that more. I need to expand on that. And that's when they start, well, what I mean by worried is, and they start expanding, they start to emotionally open up. Now, if I didn't know how to use a confused tone there, and I just, well, what would cause you to be worried? Oh, see, my tone affects how they interpret why I'm asking the question. So if they feel like I'm not understanding or I'm concerned, they open up and expand. If I'm just monotone or really high pitched and excited, they close down emotionally. That's why a ton of you lose sales you could be making. Our clients in your industry are lapping you because they have acquired that skill. They don't acquire it from basic reels. You can't learn that from basic reels. You acquire it from having all the puzzle pieces and learning how to do it. All right, Sam, let's answer a few more questions here. Then we'll go into consequence questions. Very basic and general inbound leads, home remodeling industry. That's actually the 6th largest industry we train now, home improvement. How do I increase my retention percentage after closing a sale? My customers seem to think and sleep about it and decide to cancel the next following days. Okay, first of all, it's not a closed sale until what you're selling is actually installed. That is a closed sale. So never count somebody signing a document or whatever you have and scheduling something as a closed sale. The only way well, I'll let you answer, Sam. So when you closed a deal, what caused you, in your mind, what caused you that you did in that conversation to make sure most of those people followed through and didn't cancel?
Well, actually, since I think doing Inner Circle, I don't think I've had one person cancel.
There you go. Did you have that before?
Sometimes, yeah.
Yes, because why? This is the reason why. When you try to persuade someone to do something and you push and you pressure, it is your idea, not their idea. Okay. You might win that sale, but when you leave, that external pressure wears off. It's like going to a motivational seminar and they pump you up, the speakers pump you up, you're ready to change the world. And a week later after you're home, you go back to what? Your old way of thinking, because you were externally persuaded. What we train you is how to get the prospect to persuade themselves. That's through internal tension they feel by building a gap from where they are to where they want to be. You can't tell them those things. It just goes in one ear out the other, right? You're biased. You're the salesperson. Your questionability that you can learn if you want, and your tonality that we train all in our virtual training courses, cause the prospect to build such a big gap in their mind where they feel pain. They relive the pain, especially with what you sell. That's more of an emotional need you're solving as well. Even cabinets solves an emotional need. High-end cabinets. Maybe they want more high status. Maybe the wife wants to invite her friends over and she's embarrassed by the way the cabinets look. See, if you don't know the right questions to open them up emotionally, you never get that. And when you leave, they start checking around with your competitors, and a lot of times they cancel. Okay. Our clients don't really have that issue. Okay. So hopefully that answered your question. All right. Let's go to, all right, give us an example of a consequence question. What's a good consequence question? Because there's several, but what's a good consequence question that we've trained you in Inner Circle that causes the prospect to defend themselves on why they feel like they need to change?
Yeah, well, once you go through like problem awareness, solution awareness, and there's that clear gap, the consequence question I typically ask is, it's kind of generic, but it's kind of just like, well, what happens if you don't do anything about this? And you keep having like the bad customer support with the system you have now, or whatever it might be.
If you don't do anything about this and you keep having these support issues. Now, why would I use a challenging tone when I start that type of question?
It causes them to defend why they want to do something about it.
Yeah, because we have them after the last solution awareness question we asked, we get them on that emotional high where they see what their future looks like once the newfound problems are solved. So when they're on that emotional high, I want to challenge that. I want to push them away a little bit, not too negative, push them away a little bit where they pull me back even more. So for you, why look at doing this now? I mean, why not push it down the road like a lot of business owners do who end up keep losing money on their processing? And I repeat back something negative. So for you, why look at doing this now? I mean, why not push it down the road like a lot of business owners do who end up losing money in their processing every month?
Right.
Well, the reason why we need to look at doing this now, see, now they defend themselves on why they want to change now. That builds more urgency and reduces your objections. And even if they do give you a concern, it's much easier to help them overcome it because they've triggered urgency in their brain. And that reduces sales cycles like crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. What other questions do we have here before we end this? I bought 3.0 in 2021. What is the Inner Circle? Bud, Inner Circle is industry specific. That's me training small groups with thousands of our scripts from every industry, basically. 161 industries we train in all the subsets. So you have all the scripting for that, and we teach you all the tonality. I'm the one that does that. There you go. And advanced objection handling too. Okay. Is there a central location either here on Facebook groups or on YouTube we can access specific examples in tonality? Jeremy just demonstrated pure tonality. There's some on YouTube, but we keep that basic. It's not client training. Look, folks, I love you, but if you feel you're going to quadruple your conversions and your income from a 60-second reel on IG or a few videos here on YouTube that you don't understand the context before and happen, you're going to be in for a sad awakening. If you want to acquire skills like Sam, you're going to have to get into the training that teaches you how to do that. If you don't want to acquire the skills like Sam, then you don't have to. You can keep watching free stuff. Free stuff is free. It's basic. What's the difference between the stuff you went through that was free compared to the client training, Sam?
Way better. But also like, I think one thing I noticed too is like you actually have to show up to the trainings and actually put in the work to practice.
Yeah. You want to be great at sales? You want to make 5 times what you are now or increase your conversions by 4 or 5x? You're going to have to show up to the training. And if you miss the live version, you're going to have to go through the recordings. And you're going to go through the portal multiple times. That's almost a 50-hour virtual training platform with me. You don't just go through it once. You go through it over and over and over and over and over. Look, you want to be great. You have to put in the learning skills to be great. You're not going to do that on free content with anything. It'd be like going through free content, learning how to become a billionaire investor in real estate from free content. Probably unrealistic. Same thing with sales training. Oh, I love it.
The
I love it.
portal's great too. I go through the portal like every morning when I'm making coffee and stuff. It's
Yeah,
great.
100%. Unami, how much is your trainings? Well, Unami, we don't have one training. We don't have one training product. We have 36 different versions. It all depends on your skill level, and it depends on what you feel you're missing that's keeping you at your conversion rates you are now compared to where you want to be. Once we understand those details, we suggest the right training program to get you the quickest ROI. I don't know that by on air. I'm not going to list 36 different price points. I'm not going to type all that out. So if you want to message us, we can have somebody reach out to you. They're going to have some questions for you because, some of the training programs, there's going to be some training programs that are going to work better for you and your industry than others. So we'd have to know those details from you. Okay. How does the program fit into other languages? So right now it's all in English. Now we're in, I want to say like 70 some different countries, pretty much every established country in the world. We have clients, either companies, individual salespeople, it's all over. The good thing for all of you is that in the first quarter of this next year, because of AI, we are able to translate everything. That's me training, same tonality and everything, into every language. So that will be available probably in mid first quarter of 2024. So German, French, Portuguese, Spanish, Swedish, Norwegian, Finnish, Russian, Polish, Italian, pretty much every language out there. AI is going to translate that. We have a device where AI translate, and you can even hear my tonality. It's basically the same. It's about 95% accurate. It's pretty crazy. So if you're in the portal, congratulations. It'll be good for you. Okay, awesome. Let's see. Last question, Corey. Just joined 3.0. Outside of rocking the trainings, what did you do, Sam, that really helped you the most to get rolling? That's a good question.
Outside of 3.0, what did I do to really get, what did you say, the ball rolling?
Yeah, just joined 3.0 outside of rocking the training call. So he means outside of just attending the group training session with our trainers. What did you do that really helped you the most to get rolling? It's a good question.
For me, it was pretty much listening to the portal religiously and then recording myself going through the script and like practicing that. So I got it memorized, like each phase. And then recording my sales calls to like re-listen to all of them.
Yeah. And it's not just, Corey, it's not just waking up at 4 a.m. so you can spend 2 hours in front of your computer. We made the virtual training portable accessible from your cell phone as well, because we know that's the best place for salespeople to learn. So while you're driving to work, driving to appointments, driving to the grocery store, driving to the gym, driving to church, driving to see your kids, or whatever you're driving, what are you actually listening to? Is it making you more money, what you listen to in your car? Is the rock and roll station you listen to, or the rap, or the country, or Taylor Swift, or the political talk shows? How much money does that make you every month? 0. You want to become a great sales professional and help a lot of people, use your car as a university on wheels. It was one of the most important things when I went to the first sales seminar I ever went to with my good friend now, Brian Tracy. He said, use your car as a university on wheels. Everybody always asks me, Jeremy, how did you make millions of dollars a year in commissions in 4 completely different industries? 2 B2B, 2 B2C. You know what my answer is? I simply outlearned everyone else. That's it. So instead of listening to Taylor Swift, I love you, Taylor Swift, I was listening to sales training, advanced tonality, advanced body language, advanced questioning, over and over and over and over and over and over. And magically, I started selling a ton, just like our clients do. So that would be my best advice, best place to learn, drive around your car. And look, it's like a cheat meal, right? You go on a workout diet. You got that every Saturday I get to eat all the junk food I want. Do the same thing with your music. Monday through Friday where you're in work mode, listen to sales training religiously. 10 minutes to the chiropractor, 5 minutes to the grocery store, 7 minutes to pick up your kids, 8 minutes to go back home. And now you got 40 minutes in magically. 2 minutes here, 2 minutes there. It all adds up. And then on the weekends, rock out with whatever music you like. I promise you, you do that for 30 days straight, you're going to start seeing differences. You do that 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, a year, 2 years, 5 years, your company won't even recognize who you are. You'll be the top person. You got to put in the work. You got to put in the learning work and then apply what we train you. All right, Sam, any last words of advice for maybe somebody new getting into sales, or maybe a vet who's already making six figures? Anybody should give to them?
Start taking training from 7th level. But seriously though, I think going through the portal, like not only once, but over and over again, has been really helpful, because there's almost always something like I'll pick up on that I didn't hear before, or like something small I feel like I'm getting stuck on in my sales process that re-listening to it, I'm like, oh, that solves this little piece of my sales process to make it better.
And if you guys are one of our clients, or you're about to become a client, it's not just even the portal, it's the group trainings from our sales trainers. And if you're advanced inner circle, it's a group training that I do. Our clients listen to those religiously. They don't just listen to the live version, that's it. They'll listen to that thing 2 or 3 other times while they're driving around or at the gym, because they soak in and they retain it far more. You read our book, like, hey, here's our book. You can go to Barnes & Noble, buy this best-selling Barnes & Noble book, Wall Street Journal bestseller. How much are you going to retain of this book after 2 days? 19%, according to brain science. 19%. You read this in 2 days, you're only going to remember 19%. Guess how much you're going to remember a week from now? Less than 10%. Guess how much you're going to remember in a month? Less than 3%. You don't retain words off of a page. You don't learn tonality. You don't learn body language. How could you from a book? This is just an overview, okay? You want to start retaining stuff, you have to go through it religiously. You have to go through the nuances and ask questions in our training portals. If you don't have access to that, like I said, you're just losing sales that our clients in your industry make every day. All right, Sam, love you very much. Great job. Congratulations. Merry Christmas. Now, type in the chat. I'm going to ask all of you this question, and then we'll get off here. And then the lives will go back to normal next Tuesday here in the Facebook group. Type in the chat how much more you feel you could make if you acquired some of the skills that Sam has acquired in our clients. Type in the chat how much more income you feel you'd make on a monthly basis. Now, don't say something stupid like, I'd make $1 million more a month. You're not going to make that as a salesperson. Maybe if you're a business owner, yes, that's realistic. But in the chat, in the comments, type in how much more you feel you could make if you started acquiring a much higher level of sales ability than what you have been trained so far. Type in the chat how much more you think you'd make. Some say 4x, some say 10 grand more a month. Somebody said 3 times more. Okay. What would you actually make? 50 to 75,000. I don't know if that's more in a year or a month. Maybe you're a business owner. I made 0 at the moment, started a month ago, have to go. I believe I could make an extra 5 to 10,000 more a month. Eric, congratulations. So type in the chat. Don't be shy. How much more do you feel you could make if you acquired a more advanced sales ability than what you currently have been trained? How much more could you make on a monthly basis? So, Israel, 7 grand more a month. Facebook user, 150,000 more in the entire year. Type in the chat, how much more do you feel you could make than what you're doing right now if you acquired a higher skill level? 8 to 10,000 a month, 50,000 from Humphrey, 50 to 75. Now, look at the number you just typed in and ask yourself, what are you going to do to make that? What are you going to do? Are you going to work twice as many hours? That's probably unrealistic, right? You already work 8 to 10 hours a day. Are you going to work 16 to 20 hours a day? Probably unrealistic. So that amount of percentage of increase, or that amount of money you want to make more than what you are, whatever you typed in, what do you have to do that? What do you have to do that? You have to what? You have to acquire a much higher level of sales ability than what you have been trained so far. So if you want to acquire that sales ability like Sam, and we're talking tens of thousands of our clients, we have over 55,000 clients now in the last 3 years. That's individuals and companies. Some of those companies have tens of thousands of reps, way more than that. If you want to acquire those skills for your industry, message me directly right now. So if you're on YouTube, message me directly. If you're on LinkedIn or the Facebook group, Sales Revolution, or the Facebook business page or my Facebook, message me directly right now in the DMs. If you don't know how to DM me, because you're like me and don't understand social media, then in the comments, just post hashtag NEPQ, hashtag NEPQ. We won't get upset if you spell it wrong. We won't send Sam after you, and we'll message you back some details. Now, can you do yourself a favor when you message us? Everybody okay with that? Are you going to be open and tell us what's really going on, or closed off, guarded? I want to sell more, but I don't want to learn the skills it takes to sell more. So are you going to do yourself a favor and tell us what's really going on, what you feel like you're saying, or maybe not asking, or how you're using your tone that's causing your prospects who have problems that you can solve to not buy from you? Because if we don't know that information, we don't know where to direct you. So if you want to acquire those skills, are you going to do yourself a favor and actually tell us the truth of what's really going on? Because if you do that, then you can have a lot of success. If you don't do that, we don't know what direction to put you in. Okay? Just like you don't know what direction to take your prospects if they don't open up to you. Okay? All right. Message me directly. Sam, you're a legend. Congratulations. And the cool thing is, like you said before I got on here, you only know about 20% so far of NEPQ. So what's it going to be like when you know half?
I don't know. I guess I'll be back to tell you more.
All right, everybody. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. God bless you guys. Happy New Year. We will be back next Tuesday with another live here at the Facebook group, Sales Revolution. If you're on LinkedIn or YouTube or the Facebook business page and you haven't joined the Facebook group yet, you probably want to do that if you want to see our live. We don't go live that much on YouTube and LinkedIn. Go to, there should be a banner down here with the Facebook group here, salesrevolution.pro. Yeah, it's right there in purple, salesrevolution.pro. We let you join that for free. And you can, of course, follow me on Instagram as well. There's my handle. All right, everybody. We love you guys. Stay out of trouble. Don't go out and drink and drive on New Year's Eve. Make sure you freaking take an Uber. Be careful what you do. Stay out of trouble. Don't do drugs, kids. They're not good for you. And we will see you guys next week. Sam, Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Thanks, Jeremy. Appreciate all the training you guys do. It's been
100%.
awesome.
All right. Thanks, you brother. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next week.